dig up all the information on that store, so it's kind of interesting to hear some of our old stores that are still around. But the picture right behind me of this red shoe, there's a little bit of history I brought from, this was actually on the first building on 704 East Broadway in Anaheim. So when that building closed down, me and my sister took that, and then we brought it over to Batavia, our next factory. And when that closed down, we moved it over to Shoemaker, and we had Shoemaker's where our distribution center office was. And when that just changed into just DC, we took it to our offices down in Costa Mesa. So it's followed us around for 57 years. But that's a ladies CVO style 1921-300. So this particular store was our 14th store. 1968 is the area. And I remember because my father would take my brother Paul, who's 2 years older than me, and we'd go with him and paint every store. Navajo white, that's the same color it's out there today. We painted everything Navajo white ourselves. The racks that you see inside here that Walt's crew recreated, the blue rug that was inside there was the rug that my dad put in every one of the stores. And my job at 11 years old, 12 years old was when we came, we painted the store. Then eventually my dad and my brother would put the racks in. I'd be out passing out flyers. My dad didn't believe in advertising, just word of mouth, tell a friend about Vans. Except we had a flyer, so if the very first year that we opened up in 1966, shoes were, this shoe right here, this red shoe, women's, $229. And the deck shoe, the authentic, they call it today style 44, was $449. If you had a leather shoe, it was $549. So my mother, I brought her, my mother's 93 today, she's still living, doing great. I brought her to a meeting one time about 10 years ago, and she's talking to all 500 of our retail managers. And she says, my husband gave me a goal of $100 a day. And they're all laughing. She says, wait a minute, my shoes were $2 a pair or $4 a pair. So it took a lot of pairs, you know, to do that there. When you figure it all out, it's like a $600,000, $700,000 store in these days. Again, Vans started by making our own shoes in Anaheim from 1966 to 1994. Most of our shoes now are made overseas. They've got great factories in Vietnam, Cambodia, down in South America where they have tariffs, so you have to make them there and stuff. But the store here at Eagle Rock was always a special store to me because I got married in 1976, so I remember the date. It was 1978. And 2 years in a row, on Thanksgiving night, the front door was smashed in. So I remember getting up at midnight, calling up maintenance to meet me out here so we could fix the door. The first time it happened, the police cut somebody a half mile away because they had on a Vans running suit, a Vans hat, Vans shoes, and Vans socks. And a big hole in the window. So I always remember that story. And so, you know, the next year, I don't know if he came back again just to get back at me on Thanksgiving night, but the front door has been changed to many different times over the years. But the racks that you see inside here, all of our stores up to 1980 had the shoes in the very front room. My dad was a very simple person. If it was men's shoes, they were blue stripes like you see the boxes today. If it was boys, it was orange. Women's was green. Kids was red. So the boxes that you see today on it, the style number that they have for Walt here is the style authentic. We call that style 44. So 44XX means custom made. 6006 is a medium width men's shoe. So that's why those numbers, thank you very much, Ryan Posvon, for writing all of those and designing the shoes with Walt's. But we've had a lot of fun times over the year. I can't remember a bigger turnout that I've been more excited about than seeing all of you here today, except I didn't know those first dogs were veggie dogs, so sorry if you want a vegetarian. But we followed it up with regular dogs and some glasses to apologize. I just was serving them out there. I'm normally cooking them, and I'm normally the chef tasting them, but yesterday, of all things, I had a breakdance contest in LA, and I cooked 750 dogs, so I was leaving the dogs to our crew over here. Thank you, Chester and Rhythm out there. But one of our, from 1976, when the boxes started out, the first year it had House of Vans on it. After about 2 years, we had just Vans. And then it went to Van Doren from about 68 all the way up to 76. And the next box that came out was called Off the Wall. And we happen to have a special guest, Tony Alva, right here, one of our legends of skateboarding, the godfather of skateboarding. The reason it's called Off the Wall is because Tony was the first one in pools to come off the wall. and he was a wild and crazy guy, and off the wall today for Vans still represents individual spirit. But thanks for coming by today, Tony. Saying hi to everybody out here. All right. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
What did Fast Times of Ridgemont High do for sales?
Thank God. So Fast Times of Ridgemont High, and I'm wearing my checkerboard here today, but came out in 1982, okay? And how a lot of things happen the right way if you watch what kids do. They were taking the shoe on the bottom and they were checkerboarding the rubber. So I was in charge of half of our stores in that time. I went, asked the factory, let's make some checkerboard rubber, and we did. And then we put in our custom mades in black and white, red and white, blue and white, black and red, gray and silver, all the different colors. Then the kids, again, start drawing on the canvas. So we printed canvas. We, again, were in Anaheim, California. We didn't have to wait 6 months or 8 years to get the shoes. We made them in 3 weeks. They were in our stores. So as checkerboard started to go out, that's the first time really Vans started going across the country for wholesale, as well as around the world. People wanted, they got to see the brand. Sean Penn was the actor, of course, and Sean Penn with Tony's movie Dogtown and the Z-Boys narrated that. So 2 years ago in Hawaii, when COVID was just kind of ending, nobody was allowed into restaurants. Peter, who's here with me today, went inside the restaurant and couldn't be in there because it wasn't allowed, except Sean Penn was in there. So Pete comes back from the restaurant and says, Steve, Sean Penn's in the restaurant. Well, I know the owner. So I just walked in, and he was sitting with his daughter, and I had met him before when Tony's movie Dogtown Z-Boys came out. His son was about 16, he was a skater at that time. And I thanked him for that. I looked at his daughter and I said, I really want to thank you, Dad, for being Spicoli, because he made my life a hell of a lot more interesting for the last 4.5 decades. So it was very nice to meet him. Told him a couple of stories, and then I went out and didn't bother him. I knew the owner there, so I gave him my credit card to pay for their dinner. And so I wasn't going to bother him anymore. I walked outside. It was on a golf course at night. And he came outside of that restaurant and caught me and said, Steve, you didn't have to buy my dinner. I said, no, the least I can do is at least say, thank you, Sean Penn. So it changed a lot of things, and about every 5 years, checkerboard keeps coming back stronger and stronger across the world. You know, where I traveled to countries, me and Tony 3 weeks ago were in London for a reunion, 70 skaters out there, and Tony was the first skater to go to England and around Europe in the 70s, like 77. And so it's just amazing to look at people's feet today, and there's a lot of checkerboard here today. So I just want to reach out and say thank you very much. Vans is super proud of all of our loyalty customers and new ones to come as we come up with fun different things. But again, skateboarding and surfing is in the Olympics last Olympics. It's going to be coming out again. They're going to have break dancing in the Olympics this year. So, you know, just trying to get with the youth of the kids and what they're up to today and stuff. Pickleball will probably be coming next. I don't know. Okay, but enough talking. Get drinking at Walt's, have them hot dog. Get yourself some special shoes because it's a special day out here. But thank you, Peter.
Yes, sir.
Anything else we got to say?
Let's go over Miami.
All right, here comes the beer. Thank you very much.